So I have and welcome back to this video journal. And from the last video where I tried to sort of set out certain themes and goals for my film photography to capture a certain narrative and topic, I have printed sort of a sort of sample zine, though it's still like a test run. And before I get into it, I tried to like print another version where I tried to put the papers together myself, and that really fell apart. So this one will be the second version, and mostly I simply put in most of the photos since it's still not like a final result. So I just wanted to be able to also print and document and see all of the kinds of images I took within the roll as well. So some photos shouldn't be in here, I understand that, and it's simply to document what I have shot within the roll without having to sort of go into the files. It's all will be in here in this book, and I'll talk some more of like the thoughts of this sort of project and how I will want to develop in the future. So the sort of sample title is just storefront at 7-Eleven, and I just sort of like this sort of photo from another previous photo journal where I shot a color photo, but then this bus came and blocked this 7-Eleven that I tried to shoot entirely, and that was sort of the last image in the color film roll. And then I took a second shot in black and white, but then forgot to consider that there will be only half the image in the first few shots of the roll. And since I shot basically the same scene, I was able to combine the two shots to make it sort of seem like the bus is driving out of a black and white scene, though there's another one at the bottom since I still wanted to show the 7-Eleven here. But in any case, since it's about storefronts, it's something where I don't want to get too deep into it, but basically 7-Eleven and all of this convenience store doesn't have like the best rap about how things might be monopolizing, and some people don't really like that too much. But something I also noticed is that wherever there's a 7-Eleven, there will also be like a shop in front of the 7-Eleven. And also where this idea came from to sort of just shoot random convenience store and front convenience stores is funny enough from Nick Carver, and I just sort of liked his panoramas basically. Sure, he shoots storefronts, and the landscapes are also quite nice when he shot landscapes in the past as well. I'm not sure if he'll go back to that or not. Basically, where can I find vintage, old looking storefronts? And there's certainly a lot of more Chinese style, Chinese townhouse storefronts to shoot, and a couple of them might be a little bit tricky since it's right on the edge of the sidewalk, and to be able to step far enough back, you'll be stepping into the road, or you're shooting from the other side of the road, which then you might need a telephoto lens, or the cars will get in the way. So I thought it would be initially back in January a small parody to, like, instead of shooting more vintage style storefronts similar to Nick, I'm just gonna shoot convenience stores since there's a lot of 7-Elevens in Thailand, and literally you will walk like not even 100 meters and you just find another one. And I wouldn't get into it why, but it's just a funny observation. But things again progress of, like, instead of shooting only 7-Elevens, let's sort of document like the store and like more independent stores in front of the 7-Eleven. Since a lot of people go into 7-Eleven, then there's an opportunity for other sort of food carts to place their stores in front for other people to sort of come and buy from this food store instead of 7. So this one is on the other side of the same area, and it's just sort of the general scene wide, but then want to get a little bit more closer, though this sort of white is sort of blocking the person in the way, so it's not that great of a shot, I think. This one's another one where it's at the front, and sadly this person sort of got in the way, and it's just like wanted this sort of store on an angle, and it's just sort of small stores like right at the corner at the 7-Eleven in this corner. And this is what I mean where going right into the soy, basically not even around 100 meters, there's another 7-Eleven here. And here just try a couple sample photos of working the scene, as I guess people call it, where how are people moving in and out of the store. And I just selected 3 to shoot. Don't want to shoot too much, and I think this one in the middle I like the best, for someone is sort of walking out here, and we still have like this person's arm sticking out, which gives sort of a little bit more action. This one is also okay with his legs spread a little bit, but not seeing his arms I don't really like as much, and this one is sort of a little bit too flat in my opinion. And then as for this one down here, this one feels a little bit too empty, but then again it can have a frame to like look deeper inside of the store front, but the pose here is a little bit again too flat, and then this person I feel is like walking in the wrong direction, let's say. But then it's a little bit nice touch to have this person walking into frame to sort of have that block. So I'm like leaning between these two. This one is sort of an entrance to a condominium that was sort of recently, at least in a couple of years, built. And then there's sort of a Starbucks, and this Starbucks used to be used as the condominium's office to sell rooms, and now that they don't need to sell rooms anymore, they reuse the building as Starbucks, and the 7-Eleven is sort of a little bit closer. So this one I feel it was a little bit more unique sign to 7-Eleven, and how it's sort of close to Starbucks as well. This one was trying out nighttime photography, and it was more like early morning. It was like around 3-4 a.m. at the time, and this was before any lockdowns at the time as well. And then there was just still people outside, and I just like the silhouette of the person walking through. And looking at it here is certainly a little bit blurry, and did not use the right film for it, and certainly the wrong time. Maybe should have placed a tripod as well, just to have like a steadier shot, at least in my hands. It might have a longer exposure, but at least my hands aren't shaking to cause sort of camera shake. But I think this one was with the, I'm pretty sure this was with the 50 1.8, so it was still okay. But with the Olympus OM10, since it's aperture priority, it will still try to expose automatically, and if I use the Vivitar instead, I could sort of at least set a minimum shutter speed of, let's say, 1/30th, and not have like this be overblown as much. And then go into different locations. Here I don't exactly remember because the lights outside seems all turned on, but with the 7-Eleven up here, the lights here are not turned on as much, so it indicates to me that it's maybe closed for the night, but I'm not exactly sure. But at least that might be the reason for it, but maybe not. But still, early morning, there's still the same shop hanging out here, and then just another view here where it's a little bit more empty, no one's here, and then here like a contrast of there's people here with the shop outside. Here I went and continued through. There's like another shop in front of the 7-Eleven, and it's almost like this umbrella connecting the posted sign together. So it's like when you walk, you will still find this person first, and it's like decision making of like, do you like buy from this person outside or you go inside the shop. And then here another one, another angle where we have someone walking out of the shop, and it's like a very small shop. So like even though they try to it's quite a small area, people will still sort of build these places no matter what. If there's like no 7-Eleven in sort of this zone area, then put one down and it's sure to get customers. Here is a much larger scene where there's many more shops lined up right in front of the shop. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, the 5-star chicken at the background as well. And just try to line them all up. So printing it out, it looks a little bit too dark. And then 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 shops. And then behind me, there across the street, there's even more shops lined up as well, and they're more like small restaurants than just food stands. Then trying to shoot from another perspective here, and then just use this tree as sort of a divide between, like, one is 7-Eleven and then the other one's more like independent food shops, and then we have like the person facing towards the camera, which I'm okay with. This one feels a little bit empty, but then we have a sign here of a person, even though it's artificial standing in the way. But I do wish there could be like someone here. This one was a sort of interesting take, since this one, the noodle shop here, is closed and they're most likely open night times only, when there's no curfew, and then just have a person sort of about to walk in to the store. And then want to contrast on the other side of seeing like the actual shop being closed, and then there's sort of motorcycle people minding their own like business, looking at like their phones, playing with their phones and stuff. This one just trying out a couple other angles as well, with this scene where there's just this sort of land that is sort of nothing much around, and then just one 7-Eleven just plop right there. And then a little bit later on, an Amazon shop was open next to it as well, so I tried to implement that together. And then here, if this one was a little bit brighter, we could see a person walking in, but then this one still came out a little bit better with being able to see someone walking out. But I wish it could be framed a little bit better on the inside. Here in a more busy street, where I like this sort of image, like from the previous commentary, where it seems like there's more livelihood in the image itself, with like movement in the person walking through, and then we sort of can see like the person here in the rule of thirds walking into the scene with all the other people like going on, and there's like a meeting going on with these 3 people. And it's funny enough, like with this sort of larger man in the background, it's almost like framing this one lady as well. And with her head turned, we sort of could indicate to see her mask a little bit. So it's almost like she's like looking back at us while moving forward. And then we have this man again moving forward, and we have like sort of 3 people moving forward, while there's also 3 people talking amongst each other. There's like number 3 going on with this image that I think is sort of working better. And this one is just sort of looking from the other side itself, and so I have this person sort of blocking. She's like waiting for the bus, and then just seeing the other stores in front of 7-Eleven. This one I might like a little bit more, with like the 2 people walking in, though within the video they have nothing to do with each other. It's just 2 strangers walking into the same building, though with them sort of so close, I feel like people might, and then it's almost like their hands are touching, so it's almost like they're connected somehow, even though they're not. And then we just sort of also see like there's like kids sort of also maintaining the stall, and then it seems like she's doing her homework, and then there's like older people also sort of selling and then working. So it's like different people are always sort of trying to sort of make a living in front of 7-Eleven. And then another contrast with like a 7-Eleven that actually has no one in front of the store, and it's just a bike. And here I just saw like, oh, there's a beam of light here, so I thought like maybe there's some potential with like one of those dark shadows and highlights and stuff. So just try to take a picture here. Turns out it's really not that good honestly, and not that interesting. Here with the 28, trying to shoot like straight forward again, just try to get the whole scene. And again with the one highlight, or certainly not enough light to make it interesting here. Here I thought it would be more interesting, but there's not enough sort of contrast going on, so I don't think it's all that interesting. Plus the bike itself might be pointing in the wrong direction. If it's facing the other way, maybe it's more interesting. I'm not sure, but it didn't really like interest me all that much. Not really too happy about it. But basically, yeah, like some places certainly doesn't have anyone sitting in front, and like all the other sort of food stands and stores are in the other 7-Eleven. Here back to another sort of color image, and this is sort of like when I drove past this area and I just saw this scene. It's like, oh, this is just like empty parking lot with a store out front. This is sort of totally what I feel Nick would sort of photograph if it was a more vintage style store, and then just sort of took it. Honestly, boring skies, no clouds at all. So technically, if I wanted to really sort of make it good, I would have to just save this area and then come back another time. Come back when like the sun is in a better location, either sunrise or sunset. Here's basically midday at 2 o'clock if you look at the shadow on this car. And yeah, basically it's like just sort of testing like what it could look like without like going too deep into it with the timing and scheduling of what hours I should come back to sort of this place. But in the end, there's no stores in front here, and this is basically a 7-Eleven in the middle of nowhere, pretty much. They made a pretty big parking lot as well, compared to other places with no parking lots at all. So it's a little bit interesting to see, like one of the larger 7-Elevens with parking lots. Back to, and this is sort of like shots that I wouldn't really select, but since I just want to document like most of the images that I shot within the rolls, I just place it here at the very end. So here there's like another sort of shop, restaurant, bar up on top, and then one of those washing machine stores at the bottom, though I feel like it kind of closed down sadly due to, you know, stuff going on right now. But I like how the light goes around here, even though it's the same sort of 4 o'clock. There's like a lot of light here to make it feel like it's not as dark. And I do like sort of the design of having these containers as buildings instead. That looks a little bit maybe one of those steampunk styles that people seem to like, even though with some research it appears that having these as your buildings is not effective at all and actually makes the room inside very, very hot. And this is Thailand, so it's definitely going to get super hot when using these containers. Here, even though I tried to use the 1.8, it was still exposing for the light here, and everything's just underexposed, which is a shame. And then here somehow it used more slower shutter speed, and that's why there's the motion blur, even though I tried to like come from an angle where the light is hitting from this side now, while this one the light isn't sort of reaching them, so it's too dark. Here is also one of my sort of personal favorite spots to shoot, just simply the interest of this sort of store and a tree growing out of the store in of itself. And then in the background we see sort of hints of a more modern architecture building. And basically there's many stores like this lined up in this street for the longest time, and then since somebody bought the land behind it and a lot of the stores sort of moved out, they built a condominium behind, and then just very few stores remain here anymore. And I just like how it didn't really show up in the printing, simply because it's printed cheaply, but in the vlog, when showing the image, the man sitting here is sort of seen a little bit more clearly, which I like. It's just framed and sort of sitting next to the tree, which sort of gives that focal point of a tree growing out of a storefront. This one is not exactly a 7-Eleven, but I sort of like the connection between like the orange reddish tones, and then it just sort of moves to another store front with a red orange tone as well, and then this person sort of is that line sort of dividing it. I think it will be a little bit more interesting or have some cohesive connection if the person's wearing a blue shirt to have some relationship with the pipe as well. So like this pipe is like a divider alongside the person wearing blue, and then her bag is also a little bit blue as well. So I think it will have like a nice cohesive as as far as color wise. And here are a few other photos that doesn't maybe relate to the topic at hand of like storefronts that like are set up in front of convenience store, but some photos that I like. Again, it's just sort of the framing of this one. You can check out the previous vlog on why I like these two photos as well, since the video is a little bit long. Just trying to or want to talk about each photo all the way. This one I just saw this person in particular that made me choose to take the photo of. He seems very relaxed, sitting at the back of the truck and just watching his phone, basically, whether it's YouTube or something, we don't know what it is. And then other people waiting here as well for the bus to drive out, and then this person sort of standing in the middle, and he's sort of white standing out. So composition wise, it really is kind of bad. This person walking out of frame is kind of bad. Him being white taking all the attention when my initial idea is the interest of this person, but I was using the 28 at the time, so I couldn't obviously crop or do anything about it. So in a technical standpoint, it's just bad. These ones I also wouldn't really or selected, that's why it's at the very back, but it's sort of just looking on the other side of the same road, where on the left side is the 7-Elevens, but then on the right side, where all of the previous Chinese townhouses were sort of destroyed, now it's the condominium, and then they place a wall to sort of block people from getting in, and then now other sort of stores are placed in front of the wall, so selling various foods and stuff. So I don't know if there's a little bit more potential to sort of try to capture like a good story within this angle, or doing this sort of contrast between like modern architecture and more old style sort of food stands. It's like going outside of the narrative of the convenience store with food stands in front narrative. Just a couple other random sort of street photography photos that I took within the film. I put sort of these two together, it's almost like they're looking at each other, but I should have sort of made it just bigger and just more purposeful. But initially I thought it's like, oh, this guy's sort of the same size, and tried to match the sizes, but whatever. This dog is just the fattest pig that I've ever seen, and just tried to shoot a few. Loves to bark as well, if I remember correctly. And then just like sort of the relaxing pose that this motorcycle guy is sort of having on the hammock. And so this is the final sort of Photoshop photo where I basically, what is it, clipping mask to let the bus lead through. So the black and white image is, yeah, if you talk about Photoshop layers, the black and white image is on top, and then I use a clipping mask to erase this area to reveal the bus in the lower layer, right? And then I just added a little bit more color for the 7-Eleven lines to appear through. So in this case, I do like this version more, where it's like a color bus driving out of a black and white world. And it's like a funny accident as well, since I shot this back in January and thought like, oh, this is sort of horrible. But with the panorama film photos that I stitched together, sort of made me sort of open my eyes and mind to sort of the potential of making this photo as well. In which case, that is the end of this zine, and it's much longer than I thought. So where did that hair come from? So lessons and summary. Basically, I certainly have to sort of look through more or be more careful with framing and the story that I wanted to tell. I do sort of like this one a little bit more since it's sort of one side and the other, but this bike again has no reason to be there, and I think ruins. If there's a person here either walking towards this side or walking towards that side, within sort of these two lines, you could sort of tell like he's choosing this shop over this shop when it comes to this image. And but from what I say a little bit before as well, like 2 documents of life of food stands in front of convenience stores, and I sort of question, do I only focus on convenience stores that are like 7-Eleven, or there's other convenience stores like Lawson and Family Mart that are also in the neighborhood that I should document. But 7-Eleven is certainly much more easily found in the area compared to those two, and we'll have to sort of narrow it down even more to like maybe not nighttime, or do I include only nighttime, or a mix of nighttime and daytime as well, where some food stands might only be open at night, so I try to find and catch those shops or capture those shops during the night. Like this one right here, the shop would be open at night, so I'll capture like sort of the life of a food stand at nighttime in front of 7-Eleven that are usually open 24 hours in a day. Or this one right here where 7-Eleven would most likely be open at night while the Amazon shop here would be closed, and just sort of see that contrast between an open shop and closed shop. I'm not too sure yet, just thoughts that I'm thinking about. But outside of this shop, since I don't have a photo, there's a couple of other sort of small convenience stores that are independently owned. So it's like a mini 7-Eleven, but then it's independently owned by the person, so they stock their shelves with drinks and snacks similar to a 7-Eleven, but they did not buy like the 7-Eleven thing. They just open their own thing. So I wonder if I should sort of photograph and document those as well, instead of beyond the food stands in front of convenience stores. But those are just sort of thoughts and journaling, making this zine, and I hope to sort of make some more to test things out. And initially this one was sort of printed wrong. I kind of wanted this to be folded, so we only see one side here, and then the back side will be this bus. But it's my mistake of setting up the pages, so I'll have to fix that for the next time around as well. In any case, let me know what you think and how I should improve next time as well, and I will see you all next time. Bye for now.